Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have for you my video on the League Starter that I'm playing. This League Starter build is, I think, very underrated. It is very cheap to set up a really high amount of power on this character, considering like how little currency I have spent and put into this character. It is a little bit difficult to set up though, and it is a pretty complicated build as far as like minion builds go. There's a lot of different moving parts. It all becomes like a Jenga puzzle that is difficult to set up. So if you don't mind a build being a little bit weird and like difficult to set up and kind of unusual in some of the different things that we have to do with it, but you want something really cheap to like skyrocket your currency early on, so you can just pick any currency strategy you want. Especially I'm doing things like essences in T16 maps with temples. I'm gonna make a different video on my League strategy, but I'm doing a bunch of different like strategies that will facilitate crafting, and so I wanted to have something strong that can complete my atlas and not spend a lot of currency on it, so that I can invest in things, right? So I'm like putting my currency into different investments rather than putting it into my character, and I managed to complete my entire atlas. I did all of the watchstones except for one myself. The Uber Elder Watchstone, I bought the carry because simply the fragments were more expensive than buying the carry, and I just wanted the Watchstone for map sustain, and that's it. I don't care about the rewards from it, so I just bought the carry for that. The Maven I killed myself, all the Ether and Exile, all that I killed myself. I did some Guardians, I did some invitations. I got the Maven invitation, so that was free for me, and then I got a bunch of favorite slots and completed 100 out of 115. I got few unique maps still that I need to find, but I'll probably find them just at some point and do them at that point. So that's how my Atlas progress went, and I don't even have a 6 link, right? So there is no 6 link, no 5 link, very cheap items, right? So let me talk to you about this build. I'm gonna first talk about items, then I'm gonna talk about the gems, and then we're gonna talk about the passive skill tree. So first of all, this is a Necromancer Soul Rest summoner. The Soul Rest staff is 1 chaos, okay? It's I bought the Soul Rest stuff for 1 chaos, then I bought the Omen of Jewelers, the Omen of the Jeweler for 6 chaos, so that was 7 chaos total, and then you use 1 jeweler and you get a 6-socketed Soul Rest, so you get a 6 link, and then you simply spam chromatics until you get good enough colors, right? It takes, in order to get perfect colors for me, I think it takes about 140 to 160 chromatics, I think, and you can get them a little bit quicker, roll them a little bit quicker if you roll the 1 green option on the map device, on the craft device. So the Soul Rest stuff is super powerful. It makes you summon phantasms whenever you consume a corpse, and the way that most people play it is with cast while channeling. So they will use Cyclone, cast while channeling, desecrate, and then bone offering or something like that, right? The problem with that is that you're moving slow because you're using Cyclone, and you're using losing a socket link because you're using Cyclone and you have to have a cast while channeling, and it is just a terrible way to play the build, in my opinion. The much better way to play the build, which will give you more damage, better uptime. You're not gonna be re-summoning your specters all the time as well. Like it has a good ratio of like summoning, sorry, not specters, phantasms, because you want them also to stay alive long enough so that they get frenzy charges. So the way that I'm doing this is with Arcanist Brand. Arcanist Brand is a little bit more complicated though, because first of all, you have to have the right sockets, and you have the perfect color order. So you have to have Arcanist Brand anywhere in the sockets, and then you have Desecrate as a first gem. So if you look at the gems, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the order. So Desecrate needs to be first in order. So for example, Arcanist Brand could be first and then Desecrate, or Desecrate and then Arcanist Brand. You need to have Desecrate first, then you have the Offering, and then lastly you have the Curse. So early on I was playing Fizz version. I was starting with Fizz, and I will put a PoB that I was following, that I made for myself before this league. But keep in mind, this is really not a build guide, even though I'm explaining the build, because because this is, I would definitely not recommend it to like mega beginners. I would recommend this to people who like know a little bit what they're doing and can fix some issues with the build, because it does require you having some knowledge about the game in order to play this build. But I will put the PoB that I followed at the beginning of the league, which has my Summoner Necro leveling, as well as the transition to the physical Soul Rest, and then transition to the cold Soul Rest, and then I'll put also a PoB for this character that I have here. So we have this Arcanist brand setup together with the Soul Rest. The way that Soul Rest works is that it is basically supported by all of the gems that you have. It doesn't matter if they're linked or not. And we have Summon Phantasm in here, level 21. This gem costs, level 21 right now costs 10 chaos, 15 chaos. Okay, so this is one thing that we're using. We're using minion damage as well. I just flipped my gems so they're like still leveling. We have a Predator support, which is my single target setup, because keep in mind, you can have them summoned, and this is another quick, okay, this build is fucking complicated. I'm gonna take off the Arcanist brand, because that's how you summon Phantasm if you don't have minions. If you want to like pre-stack before a boss, you can do that, for example. So I summon my Phantasm, and then when I press weapon swap, you'll see I'm swapping to a different weapon. That's also Soul Rest, because they're 1C, okay? They cost 1C, and then you pay 6 chaos to 6 socket it, and then you just put like 100 something chromatics to color it. It's extremely cheap. So I just bought 2. And I have single target setup and clear setup in them. So in my single target setup, I have Summon Phantasm, Minion Damage, Control Distraction. Those are in common in both of them. And then single target setup has Predator, Cold Penetration, and Hypothermia. And then the clear setup has lesser multiple projectiles, faster projectiles, and also minion speed. So those things are for the clear, and then Phantasm, Control, Distraction, Minion Damage are in both. So that's the setup here. Then we are using a bunch of auras. So I'm using Victorious Influence, because that gives you a lot of damage early on. You get more mana reservation efficiency, so you can fit extra aura. You get the Generosity, so you get a huge amount of effect. You get increased area of effect, so you can stand further from your minions. And then you also get the increased effect of non-curse auras. So in here we are running Zealotry, Haste, Hatred, and Skitterbots. And then I also have Carrion Golem with Convocation here, just in these extra sockets. This build is very socket starved, by the way, so that's another very difficult thing that I have to warn you for. Then for the sockets, we have the Triad Grip here has to have 4 green sockets, and that's another thing that limits our sockets. So we are playing Dash. We are using Phase Run here. So I have Phase Run. You can do like the Numlock trick, or you could run Automate if you weren't so socket starved. So I'm using the Numlock trick for Phase Run. You can press it manually as well. Then we also have Sniper's Mark, and then we have Enhance. So you want as high level of Enhance as possible, and that's gonna give you more cooldown recovery rate for your dash. It's gonna give you more movement speed for your Phase Run, and it's gonna give you more damage for your Sniper's Mark. So the quality here is extremely powerful. Then in the boots, we have a Raise Spectre with Minion Life, just the Frenzy Charge monkeys, and then I have Cast when damage taken and Immortal Call. It is pretty difficult to set the Immortal Call and like find a spot for it, but it is extremely important. And so is the Enduring Composure. This build is running, as you can see, bases that are pretty trash in terms of the base stats. I get very little armor, and we can get good amount of block. Like if you look at my block, right now my block is at 70 block and 65 spell block. So it's a good amount of block, and we can get to like 77 and 75. But this is something that doesn't stop you from being one-shot, right? We have a good recovery because we're playing Necromancer, so we're constantly leeching like a really good amount. And we have, you know, we're capped on resistances, we get spell block, we got block, but really large hits will one-shot you, right? So this is definitely not a tanky build in the way that this is set up. And to mitigate that, we are using Cast when damage taken Immortal Call with Enduring Composure to increase our max hit by like a lot more. So this is very, very important to have in here. Let's talk about the rest of the gear. I have Hungry Loop. I put Hungry Loop as soon as I possibly could because it gave me the sockets. And then I already fixed my resistances and attributes with other pieces of gear. Before wearing the Darkness Enthroned, which I bought like an hour ago, I was using a belt that had a lot of strength and chaos rest. So what I did is I bought a heavy belt I made it white. I bought one that had 35 strength implicit roll. I put 4 attribute catalysts on it, and then I put the chaos res essence on it until I got something good. And like in few rolls I got a res and strength, and then I just crafted life on it. So that's what I was using. This was basically, you know, like few chaos craft, and then I put the darkness enthroned. I bought this one for like 1 div. It's probably my most expensive item that I have here. So darkness enthroned or just a strength belt until you do it. What else do we have? Soul Rest, Hungry Loop. So Hungry Loop, the problem with Hungry Loop is that you need leveled gems, right? And you need them to be 19 and like 99% XP. And then when they get to 100, you need to put them in a Hungry Loop and you need to level them. We don't have a way to level our gems, right? We don't have an offhand. So for a while, I was running with just 1 Soul Rest and leveling the gems in the offhand until I could put them in the Hungry Loop, and then I could add the second Soul Rest. So there is a lot of things like that with progression that you have to be able to figure out with this build, right? Like the cheap power comes at a price of having to figure out all of these little issues. Like you don't have sockets to level your gems. Like what do you do, right? And you need the gems for the Hungry Loop. So you need to figure out ways around that. But eventually I got my Hungry Loop. So Feeding Frenzy, Meat Shield, Elemental Army, Minion Life. This is important. Feeding Frenzy and Meat Shield nullify each other. So I can send my minions. You see, if I press Brand, my minions are going. If I didn't have the Feeding Frenzy there and I only had Meat Shield, for example, the minions wouldn't follow it. They would stay with me. But the Feeding Frenzy is also important for the buff itself. Elemental Army also gives me the exposure, right? And then minion life so that they survive. This setup also will work very well for Animate Guardian, so I could put Animate Guardian here, but zombies are actually really nice because they taunt. They give me like a actual meat shield around me, so I'm taking less damage because of that. And it's really nice to have a lot of them because they're gonna proc the buffs very, very consistently. Next item we have is a helmet. So the helmet is just +1 minions life res. Just super cheap helmet for a few chaos that I bought. Put implicits on it, damage from hits taken as fire damage, like fist damage taken as fire. This is very important to get that implicit. That's the best one by far. And then you can get like minion movement speed or something else that's useful on the Searing Exarch, not that important. Then we have Jinxed Juju. So Jinxed Juju is very nice. I got a pretty shitty roll. This thing costs like 30 chaos. This is very nice because it gives you the chaos res, gives you strength, dex, and the effect of your auras, as well as basically like a 10% fortify. So specters take damage instead of you from hits, which prevents us from being one-shot so much, which is very, very important because this build tends to get one-shot. And also we anoint Steelwood stands because we need block, right? So this is block and also armor if I blocked recently. For my flasks, you can see I'm using a granite with armor and a basalt with block stun and block recovery as well, right? Plus speed, right? Speed and curse effect reduction. So you need armor. Instead of the basalt, the better one would be like a max roll Taste of Hate, but that's 2 divines. I don't want to invest too much into my character. I'm fine with that for now. Then we also have another ring. So this one can be either a bone ring or unset ring. You want like minion stats, you want life and res, you want attributes. Just the ring is gonna fix all of your stuff. The ring and the jewels are gonna fix all of your stuff. And then for the boots, just movement speed, and life and res, and then I put a chance to avoid elemental ailments and bone offering effect. These are the modifiers that you want on the implicit, and together with a storm shroud. So I got storm shroud on day 1. This was the first thing I bought. I bought it for 25 chaos. Right now is 3 divines. Okay, so that was a very good early purchase. Storm shroud is very, very nice. I recommend just rushing it and buying it as soon as you can. And that gives me the ailment immunity. So I get my shock immunity from here, from the jewel, which gets multiplied. So this is 45% chance. And if I look at my ailment immunity, if I take out this jewel, I'm at 15, right? So the boots are giving me 15, and this is giving me the rest. This is giving me 85. Someone is buying my Stygian Vice, so I'm gonna sell it. We need the currency early on. I just invested like 11 divines into beasts that are gonna go up in price. So I am in need of some liquid currency. All right, so we got some monies. Nice. Okay, so the jewels. We got the jewels. On the jewels, what you want is chance to avoid being shocked. Before you have darkness enthroned, you just need 2 jewels. You're looking for chance to avoid being shocked. You're looking for max life. Armor is okay as well. Minions deal additional cold damage. Minions deal additional fist damage. Hinder. attributes like strength and dex, resistances, cold res. Minions deal increased damage if you used a minion skill recently. Those are the things that you're looking for, right? So that's what I have in here. And then I also have a third jewel that has armor, life, and out of resistances to just fix my res. Anything else when it comes to the items? Victorious Influence. Again, this chest is like 1 alchemy orb, and you can get 6 chaos jewelers omen and just 6 socketed instantly. For coloring triad grip, because this is something that some people might wonder about, you can either buy all green. So if you look for triad grip on trade, I bought this one for 34 chaos, and it's roughly about the same as it would take me to just make it. So I just saved myself the time, because normally what you do is you go to crafting bench and you do either 2 or 3 green, and then you do sockets. So you do 2 3 2 3 2 3, and you just bounce the sockets until you get green, and then we get the green here. Then you do 3 3 4 3 4 3 4 until you get the last green, and then you link it in and you get the triad grip. So now let's talk about the passive skill tree. Passive skill tree is very straightforward. It's like super standard summoner tree. It basically transitioned into this very well after my summoner leveling guide. So you can check out, I'm gonna link in the description at the end of this video, my summoner leveling guide that transitions perfectly into that. But what I got is Commander of Darkness, Mistress of Sacrifice for the block, Mindless Aggression, Bone Barrier for Fizz mitigation, as well as the Leech. So this is massive. Also the max ES, like life as extra ES, is absolutely massive. Then we've got here accuracy. What the fuck? I don't need that anymore. So minions recover 5% life on death mastery, minions penetrate, cursed, and then offerings. Nice, so I just freed up a passive skill point, which I can put now back into the damage, which I took out to put Enduring Composure. We're passing through Enduring Bond. Alive, I got here careful planning for dexterity. So you need all the dexterity as a requirement on this build, because you need all these green gems. You need like cold pen, hypothermia, you need hatred, haste. So these things will require all of dexterity. So that's why we have this. Then you pass through here. You get these masteries for minion life and minion attack speed and cast speed. Pass down through the life. Then we get a bunch of block. We can later get maximum chance to block attack damage when I get more effective offerings, or like level 21 offering. Then we are passing through life through the aura effect. The whole minion wheel, we got increased effective offerings here. Then we get a socket. Then we get life mastery for maximum life if there are no life modifiers on armor, which there aren't. And then we get also block with the staff. And on the other side, we're passing here. I got tattoos for minion life. This really is nice because I think one time one of my Spectre died once. Through the whole, like completing the whole Atlas, getting the Watchstones, doing bosses, like doing crazy maps. I'm doing some really insane maps. So that's just one time one Spectre died. So these I think are paying off. I can put like 2 more I think and still have enough end for everything, no problem. Then we are picking life plus flat 50 life, picking block plus reservation efficiency, Ravenous Horde for the clear, Eldritch Battery for the mana, so we can reserve more, Whispers of Doom so that I can use Frostbite as well as Sniper's Mark at the same time. And then we got a large cluster. So you want a large cluster with Renewal, Call to Slaughter, and either Rotten Claws or not Skeletal Atrophy. There is another one modifier that allows you to get a Renewal and Call to Slaughter in front here. So check in PoE what allows you to do that. This is what you want, Renewal and Call to Slaughter. There are 2 modifiers that you can have in the back, Rotten Claws, and there's also another one, the Impale one, and there's another one. And then we have, it's another prefix, I think. And then we have Enduring Composure as well as Blessed Rebirth. So Blessed Rebirth was like one of the first things I got, together with Feasting Fiends. And then I've got the Dodri's Apathy, which gives me also a nerve, right? So it's 10% increased damage because Phantasms are spellcasters. They deal spell damage, so this is a more damage multiplier. Ideally, I would probably run like a Megalomaniac with Dodri's Apathy and Enduring Composure, but that's very difficult to find. So that's it when it comes to the passives. Now I'm going to show you the build in action, right? So we're going to go into like a random T16 map. I got something prepared here with like Kartos, Scarabs, and my tree, because I simply just want to drop myself some maps. I don't care about the league mechanic, even though I'm collecting corpses. Let me talk about the league mechanic briefly, okay, while I'm doing this map. So the league mechanic in my personal opinion, okay, is pretty good for certain things, okay? So there are certain things that you can craft with the League mechanic better than you can do with anything else in the game, right? But you can see I just put a brand on the mobs, right? Like I just run around, I convocate my guys, I can swap to the clear setup, right? So I just put a brand and I'm just sitting around and just pressing the convocation, right? And that's it, and I'm happy. This is a Phenomenal Plague Arachnid, I think, with... No, that's a yellow beast, never mind. It looks like Phenomenal Plague Arachnid, but it's not. So I'm doing my Atlas tree. I'm going to talk about in the next video, where I'm going to talk about my strategy. But you can see, like, the build is just cruising. The build is just chilling. Like, I can swap between my single target damage and my regular setup. And this is basically like a... Imagine if you had a brand that summons minions and it lasts 30 seconds. That's basically what this build is. You put a brand out, it summons minions, and it lasts 30 seconds, and you just run around. Like... And it doesn't cost anything. It's just the cheapest, like, starter build you can play. And you can do whatever content you want, right? Like, it's not great at content where you need to be very fast. Like Legion, for example. Like, you could do Legions, but you're not going to be great at it. But yeah, the build is... I'm super happy with it and with how the build performs. So I'm just chilling. Is this a koala? Like, all the beasts are now worth killing because of the other guy. Okay, let's swap to single target setup. Do more damage. He's doing DD as well here. But I'm just leeching through all of it. I don't have instant leech or anything like that. It's just like a good base amount of recovery by just having leech. So I really like the new Necromancer node. What is this beast? Something useless, I think. So yeah, I'm doing essences. I'm doing the essences on bosses. So the bosses become pretty freaking crazy. Like when you stack a lot of essences with the scarabs, you get a lot of stuff on these bosses and they become really, really crazy. So yeah, League mechanic, I think is really nice. There are some crafts that can be really, really incredible, but I haven't seen anybody even attempt those. I think people are doing completely the wrong things, but I'm not here to teach people how to figure out the League mechanic, because if I get the corpses, then I can make a lot of money. And okay, swap to single target setup so I can kill this guy. He has like a bunch of essences on him as well. But it's super chill because I can still stay away from everything, and that's how the build works, I guess. I think this is like a decent demo and what you can do with this build. Yeah, so I'm not gonna tell people what to craft because I want to make money on it, and if it's gonna get buffed, then I'm gonna be able to do it even better. And people just haven't figured it out yet, and they're like crying that oh no, the League mechanic. Okay, one last incursion. Hall of Lords. Okay, people are crying that the League mechanic is too weak, and they're just crafting the wrong thing, right? Like, the League mechanic is too weak for low investment. Like, it should be better in terms of like making some weaker items, but I don't know how they will even balance that. I don't know. The League mechanic is extremely powerful for crafting certain items, but I don't want to, I guess, say which ones. The problem with it is that, with the perception that people have, is that people think that the League mechanic is terrible, right? So they don't even bother saving their coffins and selling them, right? They don't even bother like saving crafts and selling them. And there are certain crafts I would want to buy because they're pretty rare and they're very, very powerful, but nobody's even selling them because people are just not bothering with interacting with the League mechanic, right? Because they're just, I guess, like, I mean, I'm just gonna call it what it is. They're too dumb to realize how to use it. Like, people are just too stupid to realize how to use it, to the point where they think something is worthless, where something is literally the best crafting method for making a couple of different items. There's like one very specific item, actually two. There's like two specific items that is the best for making, and the items would sell for large amount of currency, but people simply think it's useless, right? But yeah, this is the build. In the next video, I'm going to talk about my strategy, which I'm using to make currency. I think I have a really, really cool strategy figured out. So I'm happy about that. If you're interested in following this build, you can also check out my stream. You can ask questions if you have any issues with it. But yeah, fair warning, pretty complicated build, super cheap, good amount of damage, got like 6 million DPS on 0 budget, basically. Like you just do Chaos Recipe for you know, a few hours and you have the whole build complete. Like your end game build, like you enter white maps, do some Chaos Recipe, your build is finished like on the first day. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and see you next time, guys.